Hello all viewers and subscribers. This is going to be my review of the LG G4. This phone's been out on the market for quite some time. Many other YouTubers have already done reviews on this phone, but I just wanted to do one on sort of how it sits in 2016, give my thoughts as well on a photography and videography standpoint on sort of what I thought of it. You might be wondering why I purchased the G4 over the newly released G5, and other than the fact of cost, it also has a larger screen and some other great features that are actually removed from the G5. So without further ado, let's get right to it. The version of the G4 I purchased included two removable backplates, one plastic and one leather backplate, both of which look and feel great. I personally much prefer the leather overall, however. It has an alligator skin texture which looks and feels terrific. The included 3000 mAh battery is also removable, which is such a simple but great thing. It's also equipped with a micro SD card slot, allowing expandable storage up to 128 gigabytes on top of the internal 32 gigabytes. The screen on the G4 is a 1440p 5.5-inch IPS display, which is very bright, has great contrast, decent viewing angles, and is a pleasure to use. Its UI is very smooth and responsive and has some unique features such as multitasking, which allows you to split your window and run two apps at once, and it's very useful from a productivity standpoint. The G4 is also equipped with a 16 megapixel rear-facing and 8 megapixel forward-facing camera, both of which give amazing images and video for a smartphone. Probably the most unique feature of this phone is its option for fully manual control of its cameras, allowing you to manually focus, adjust shutter speed, ISO, white balance, turn on or off the flash, and even shoot uncompressed raw images. Its forward-facing lens is very good quality as well, with an aperture of f1.8, which gives very decent low-light performance for a smartphone, as well as surprisingly shallow depth of field. The G4 also has laser autofocusing, which allows it to focus remarkably fast. Its forward-facing camera is also great, gives very sharp images and video, allowing for higher quality video chatting and better selfies. I took the G4 out on a short shoot instead of my usual more professional camera to see how it stacks up. And I have to admit that I was quite blown away with the quality of images which I was able to capture with this phone. For one, the sharpness is pretty mind-blowing for a smartphone. I did, however, notice a bit of unnecessary post-over-sharpening of the images. You can see this ugly highlight between the mountains and the sky in this image, indicating it's been over-sharpened. Not a huge issue, but it would be really nice to have a simple option to simply turn off that post-processing effect which the phone is applying. Moving on, the dynamic range is also really impressive for such a small sensor camera. It maintains quite a lot of detail in both the shadows and the highlights. It does also have an HDR function, which while it doesn't make a huge difference, it can increase the dynamic range a tiny bit depending on the circumstance. The included camera app also has a panorama function, which is super easy to use, and as you can see here, creates a single super high resolution stitched image. One odd quirk about the G4's camera is its sensor is actually in a 16:9 aspect ratio, which is quite unusual for most cameras. I noticed this because when you switch to the more typical 4:3 photography standard, it simply crops off the edges of the image. So I'd recommend just shooting the 16:9 for the best results. On the video side of things, the G4 certainly doesn't disappoint either. It's capable of both shooting 4K UHD video at 30 frames per second, 1080p at 30 frames per second, as well as super slow motion 720p video at 120 frames per second. And as you can see, the 4K video out of this camera really is the real deal. It shoots at around 50 megabits per second, which in and of itself makes it much less compressed when compared to 1080p videos 20 megabits per second. But of course, it's not on the same level as a dedicated large sensor 4K video camera, but for a smartphone, it really is amazing quality. I actually accidentally recorded some of my clips in 1080, and I was surprised to find that I noticed something was wrong immediately after viewing my photos on my computer. Even when played back on a 1080 monitor, the difference is quite drastic. It's not all great though, as I did notice quite a lot of rolling shutter with the G4's video, especially when shooting in 4K. But honestly, I kind of expected that, as it's a pretty common quirk with cameras these days. Another negative is that I noticed a little less dynamic range of my videos when compared with the stills of the G4. And my only last gripe is that it would be great to have the option to shoot 4K at 24 frames per second instead of 30. But these are mostly nitpicks. For a smartphone, the G4 packs some impressive video features. Obviously the G4 has a very powerful processor to deliver these kind of results, and indeed inside the G4 is hiding an 8-core 1.8 GHz processor which delivers great performance. As far as gaming goes, the G4 can handle pretty much anything you throw at it. From more casual games, such as a few of my favorites including Plague Inc. and Hungry Shark, to more graphic intensive games like UFC and Modern Combat, which you can see here. I also had quite a lot of fun playing some old school N64 games via an emulator from the App Store.
Everybody stay alert!
The only nitpick, which isn't really the phone's fault, is demanding games can sometimes run at lower frame rates due to the high resolution display bogging things down a bit. Not the phone's fault though, but I really wish more Android releases would allow you to lower the resolution for smoother gameplay. So to conclude, the G4 is excellent value for money. You can get some amazing deals on it now as it's been on the market for just over a year. I got mine for $0 on a 2-year agreement, which also included a $175 gift card. Still, if you want the latest and greatest, LG's G5 is their flagship model. It does have a slightly smaller screen, which was part of the reason I opted out of it. But it does have some nice features, including 2 cameras, 2 forward-facing cameras giving you wider angle shots. It also has a modular system, so you can upgrade it down the line. You can actually get proper camera controls on the side of the phone. So it's pretty cool, but yeah, still I'd say definitely don't pass up the G4 if you're on a tighter budget. It really is an amazing phone for the price. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this.